Well, first of all, thank you. I didn't know where it was going. I knew that there was. I once said I had a vision, but I didn't have a story. And I guess what I tried to do is create a story. And but you're quite right. I don't know what it is. I like to say it's a documentary because it's not a film. But then it's not a documentary either, so I'm confused too. Except that I feel what I've tried to do, I know this is, I wanted to make a kind of collage and put it together like of stuff that by the end of it, you get the idea of what I was doing. I wanted to reflect some of who Oscar Wilde was, what he went through, but not intensely, not like a documentary would do it, which would be much more complex. I thought that if I gave an overview of Oscar Wilde and connected it in a way with the struggles we were having to put a play on, and the actual play of Salome, that somehow they would interconnect, and somehow it would be revealed by the end of the movie what I was trying to say. Well, at least it would have been revealed to me. But I think that's what I was doing, and trying to sustain it. There's Jessica Chastain, who I really believe is the reason I made the movie, because as soon as I met her and saw her, I thought this is the person to play Salome. If I ever saw one, I must get her to play it before the world picks her up, as it's done now, and turns her into the next big star. So she was very gracious and said yes, and so we did it. And I think it was this idea of creating something that would reveal things about myself also, because I interject myself throughout it as a kind of goofy guy or someone who's trying to deal with the process, whatever you want to call it, the process of making movies or doing plays or the creative process. You can call it all these things, but that was my idea. And the idea of Richard III, when I did a movie about 15 years ago called Looking for Richard, was simply to see if I could get the audience to relate more to Shakespeare if I broke it down, that play, Richard III, using documentary style. Because in America at the time, and still is, the Americans and their relationship to Shakespeare, and myself being an actor who has always wanted to play Shakespeare and has played Shakespeare, but it is difficult in our country of America to be accepted readily, or it was, as an American doing Shakespeare. That belonged to the rest of the world. With Americans, it was somewhat, except for the great actors who have played it and have risen above the prejudice, and the great Joseph Papp, who created the Public Theater, where he interracial casting and stuff. So people from all parts, because in America we're from all parts of the world, and so to be able to express that in a film. But what the film was always trying to do was present, by the end of it, this play, Richard, that you now, as an audience, hopefully understood. That was my whole point. In Salome, it's to give a sense of what I felt when I saw the play, and to give a sense of a great writer, a genius, if you will, who was taken out before his time, and to show in a way some of the style of his play Salome, and how passionate it is and was, and how the Salome, some of the issues in Salome, in the play, are revealed, and how interesting they are, and how inventive Oscar Wilde was in doing this, which is not his style of writing at all. He's known for something entirely different. The thing is, when you work in the theater, in the live theater, and you work with your fellow actors and actresses, and you have a bond that happens. It just is a natural thing. And sometimes early on, it's a little, little difficult. Maybe people are not as open, nor am I early on. But after a few days, everybody sees we're in this thing together. And I think of it pretty much as a kind of high wire act theater. I think it's like we're all up there performing this act, and we depend on each other, because if we don't do it together, we fall. And I think once that is instilled in, and it's a kind of it's the way we are in theater today. That's come for the last 100 years with Stanislavski and the method, and the way we approach theater as a group, and theater companies and stuff. In the old days, before television or movies, it was an actor-manager, and the star actor was the center of attraction. Here we do it as a group, but even in Shakespeare's day, they worked as a company. So it's inherent in the very context of theater that people are together, because you need to be. Because every time, you forget your lines on stage, you need help.
So this was the first film that I've done, and when I was cast, we initially started workshopping it over a year. So we would get together and do a read-through of it in New York, or we would do a read-through at the Actors Studio in Los Angeles. So the idea of playing the part was inside of my head, and I was always thinking about Salome, and I was taking dance lessons and everything I could do to try to approach it. While we started rehearsing at the Wadsworth Theater, we were followed around by the wonderful DP Benoit Delhomme, who's in the film. And he was great at not being intrusive. So a lot of the documentary, you didn't really think about the camera being there. And by the time we started filming the movie on the soundstage, we had been working on the play for probably about a month on stage. Is that right, Al? Was it about a month?
Yes.
Yeah. So we shot it in like a week and a half.
It's amazing, yeah.
I mean, it was all day long, but we knew the characters so well that we could just go to any scene and know exactly where in the character's journey it was.
Well, of course, there are things, when I look back, I wish I hadn't done. I can't say regret, I just wish I hadn't done them. And there's a lot of things, including things besides films, that I wish I hadn't done. But that's the way it is, and so we all know that. Oh, no wonder I didn't get that. My future. I don't know. I sometimes feel like I just came off doing a few things. I was on the stage in New York with The Merchant of Venice, and I was, it was exhausting, but I have movies that are still, coming at me, and I always say that I'm going to be selective. Yeah, I always say that, but I never am. I always wind up doing something because, you want to do something. And But I'm saying it again. It's almost like a resolution I'm going to make. I'm going to do it only when I feel it's the thing to do for me. So I hope I follow that philosophy. So that's my future. It's blank.